Hey guys, what's up? Darcy here at 6 Strings 9 Lives. It is time to bring 2022 to a close and await some more metal and hard rock that is going to come in 2023. A few new releases already announced for 2023 that I'm excited about, but we will save those for future videos. Today we're going to take a look at this year, a little bit of a reduced list. Past 2 years I've done a top 20. I'm going to just do a top 15 this year. I do keep track of new releases that I pick up, and I'm down about, to be honest with you, about 10. I only picked up about 20 new releases this year. Been a little more selective, and you know what? I just can't get it to everything. I've been really trying to limit myself on new releases because I do want to get to know the albums that I've picked up better than I have, not just picking them up just to pick them up. So not saying that I won't pick them up later, and that could happen. So please feel free to throw down some suggestions of stuff that I might have missed in the comments section. There is I've sampled quite a few albums from 2022 that I haven't picked up, but I thought just to be fair, I would just reduce my list to my top 15 albums that got the most spins. Some came out a little bit later, but I've made up for lost time on a couple of those. And everybody's list is different. I love watching these type of videos to see what you've been listening to and what you think are the best, metal hard rock albums of 2022. But before we get rolling here, I just a couple that I have not picked up. I still have not picked up the new Scorpions. I've seen that one on a few lists. I've listened to it a few times, and no reason other. Actually, you know what? There is price. $26 for a frickin' digipack sleeve. It just brutal, but hopefully I'll pick that one up in 2023. I have not picked up the new Gravedigger yet. I'm a fan of that band. That is on my pickup list for sure. Who else? Sword from Canada has not put out an album in 34 years. That one's been a little bit delayed, so that won't appear on my list. It actually has a release of 2022, but the vinyl release will be coming here shortly in 2023, hopefully. Who else? Skullfist, I have not picked that one up. That's a decent album. I think it's a step up from their previous album, Way of the Road, I think it was called. What else? Another one that popped up quite a bit that I've seen on a list is from a band, Wolf, and absolutely spitting image of Mike Howe's vocals was brought to my attention. I didn't know the band that well, so I still may pick up that one. I think it's called Shadowland. But any other ones that I've missed, let me know in the comments. Like I said, I always appreciate the recommendations. Don't always pick up everything. Don't always get to everything, because you just can't get to everything. So as they say, without any further ado, we'll get to my list. We'll go 15 to number 1. There's a couple on here that I have picked up that I'm not going to include. The new Tony Martin, solid album, but just didn't quite make it. What else? The new Razor album from Canadian Thrashers after 25 years, didn't quite make it. Some good stuff on that one too, but like I said, just remind me in the comments of stuff that I might have missed. So all right, let's get rolling here. Or anything else? I will say one more thing, because I do this often. I delay and then I talk, whatever. There was no clear-cut Todd La Torre album this year. I would say my top 4 are all very solid choices, and either one of the 4 could be my number 1, but I did pick a number 1, just little bit better than the one below it, or whatever. But like I said, there was no clear-cut surprise album like Todd La Torre last year. But if you still have not checked out Rejoice in the Suffering, go for it. Great album from 2021. Hope to see another solo album from him soon. But let's get rolling. Coming in at number 15, this is the 12th overall studio album from Ozzy Osbourne, Patient Number 9. This one was actually quite a surprise to me. I was not expecting well, I was hoping to expect better than ordinary album from 2020. That's what I call it anyways, but this is much better, and I found myself going back to this one way more than I did Ordinary Man. Here's the back. So Ozzy's 12th solo album, if you don't include that covers album. But yeah, I'll just mention a couple of great songs. And, you know, I thought about it. Oh, Ozzy's voice, always auto-tuned. But you know what? Ozzy actually has always had that auto-tuned sound, that nasally. Yes, obviously they touched this up. There's no doubt about it. But he just sounds like Ozzy. There's no one that really sounds like him. So I'll just name a couple of great tracks that I enjoy. My favorite track is one with Zakk Wylde. So yeah, featured lots of guests on here. The song is called Nothing Feels Right. Love that one. And the one with Tony Iommi, Degradation Rules. Two of my favorites from Ozzy's album. So definitely cracked my top 15 this year. And I should point out that I'm not going to include any live albums, EPs, compilation albums, reissues. I've done a video on my top 15 reissues if you want to check that out too. But I did forget to mention one thing. This is not part of my top 15, but I do encourage you to still go check this one out. It's not a studio album. It's a celebration album from Sodom, called 40 Years at War, The Greatest Hell of Sodom. In a way, it's kind of a newer studio album. It's not a studio album, but it's newer to me because a lot of these songs I've never heard from some of their albums, because a lot of their stuff is really super hard to get. So, hey, if you're new to Sodom, this is the way to go. Check it out. They did one track off of every one of their studio albums and one track off their first EP. So not on part of the 15, but definitely needs attention if you want a solid Sodom album. All wrapped up in one, a sample of all the stuff, all re-recordings, one of the top-notch re-recordings I've heard personally, besides Testament. I would put this one right up there. So, all right, continuing with the list, coming in at number 14, a band that hasn't made my top 20 in the past, well, probably since their album Juggernaut of Justice, but Anvil has made my list this year. Coming in at number 14 is Impact is Imminent. Also an album title that is shared by Exodus on one of their 90s albums. I believe it was 90s. But anyways, Canada's own Anvil, just a fun band that I enjoy listening to. I've said it before, they're probably not giving you number one album of the year, but their consistency, they don't waver off the beaten path much, but just the quality of the songs on this one. I would say this one, if you know the album, actually the second part of this album is where it's at for me. Songs like Bad Side of Town, Wizard's Wand, probably my favorite track. And then there is a track called Lockdown on here, which, there's still bands that are doing, COVID-related songs. Personally, I wish they wouldn't, but it is part of what we're going through. And it's part of our history and all of that. But great album from Anvil. This is their 19th studio album. Still plugging away, but I do really enjoy this one. Like I said, probably their best since Juggernaut of Justice, if you know the band. But and if you're new to the band, go check out this new one. Might be a good start for you. We all know Metal on Metal, but past that, a lot of people have lost track of Anvil, and if it's your thing, that's fine. If not, move on to the next thing. And all right, where are we at? Number 13. This is a collaboration between, one second. This is a collaboration between two ex-Accept members, David Reese and Herman Frank. So this is really their first album. And actually on my list, I added up all the albums of these 15 bands or artists, and they equal 178 studio albums released from these 15 collectively, which is an average of 12 albums per band, but this is their first. So this one helped bring down the average, actually. So this is Iron Allies, Blood In, Blood Out. So another title by Exodus. Wow, people seem to like Exodus album titles. But so this is, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And I've said anything with Herman Frank, I will pick up. His solo stuff, Victory, loved him in Accept. But and David Reese still sounds good. They were, what was I going to say? So this is their first collaboration. So you have there's a picture here of these guys. If you're familiar with Eat the Heat album from Accept, that's the one David was on. He has lots of, no, I wouldn't say lots, but he has 3 or 4 great solo albums. I actually have 2 of them. There's the photo, David Reese. Definitely looking his age there, but still sounds really good. And Herman Frank, love his guitar playing. I think he, in a way, he's underrated and should be talked about a little bit more. But that is my number 13, their first collaboration. Hopefully they continue. I know a lot of these guys are in different bands and here and there, but all right, let's continue with an album from a band. There's actually, 33 years that have passed since this band, this thrash band, put out an album. And I'll say initially, I liked it more than I like it now. It's on my list. I do really enjoy it, but initially I thought it was better than it was, and it is Toxik, Dismorta. Like I said, the first album in 33 years. I would put this on one of the worst album covers list for me. You know, I like the black, I like their logo, but it's just this mirrored bunch of whatever, just not a great album cover. I think they could have did a little bit better, but not a disaster, but not great. But okay, as far as me liking this album, it kind of really shocked me when I first listened to it the first few times. I'm like, this is awesome, man. There's Josh Christian back, new vocalist, kind of a new band, really, and tons of guitar. So busy with the guitar noodling and solos, and but I kind of tapered off with this one over time, but still enjoy stuff. Like my absolute favorite track on here is called Straight Razor. I also would encourage you to check out a couple other songs, Hyper Reality and Judas, the final or the closing track on here. But this is Dismorta from Toxik. So hopefully they continue on. It's nice to see bands that have had that large gap, you know, come out with a successful album. I mean, there's been bands, I don't think personally anybody that's had that type of gap would beat Possessed from 2019. Revelations of Oblivion, still my number one of that type of, I think that was a 33-year gap. And on that note, still hoping to see a new one from Jeff Becerra and Possessed. Again, if you haven't checked out that album, go for it. That was my number one from 2019. Let's continue. Where are we at here? So that Toxik, that was their third release. Like I said, 33 years had passed. So that was my number 12. Number 11, bit of a surprise. I listened to this late. I had mentioned in a previous video and just kind of sloughed it off. And then I started listening to it again. My wife picked it up for me for my birthday, and glad she did, because this is a really solid album. From Skid Row, The Gang's All Here. Honestly, I lost track of Skid Row after Subhuman Race. I don't know anything about their other 2 albums, their 4th and 5th album. Vocalists shuffling, different drummers, blah, blah, blah. Just lost interest. But when I heard this album with the new vocalist, Eric Grunwald, I was actually pleasantly surprised, and it grew on me more and more. Yes, one of those shitty digipacks, but whatever, it will survive. But here is the center for that. Great tracks on here. My favorite track on here is a song called Resurrected, and in a way that kind of just sums up Skid Row for me. They've been resurrected for me. You know, they're not like my number one favorite band or anything like that, but out of a band that started in the late 80s, 1989, I believe their debut came out. This is the best thing I've heard from one of those bands in a long time. But yeah, some other great tracks. The Gang's All Here. Where is that? Time Bomb, good track. Tear It Down. But yeah, great album from Skid Row. So this would be their, sixth album. So all these years, only 6 albums. But if they can stay on track and keep Eric in the band, I think they still have a couple more good albums in them. But that is my number 11. My number 10 is the 18th studio album from this German thrash band, part of the Big Four. First few listens, I thought, this is fucking awesome. Love it. This could almost be my number 1. And then I'm going to say reality kind of set in a little bit with me. And I'm like, I got to dial this back a bit. This is a great album, but it's not going to be my number 1. But still really enjoy the new one from Tankard called Pavlov's Dogs. But, and like I said, if you can just look past the beer metal and, you get people talking about Running Wild, oh, that's pirate metal, this is just beer metal. It's just metal. There's a lot of great tunes on here. Yes, there's a couple beer-themed songs for sure. There's lots of political observations, and then just general life stuff. Like example song, track number 2, Ex-Fluencer. Just the modern day social media bullshit song. Metal Cash Machine, awesome track too. But check out my favorite track on here. It's called Veins of Terra. Still plugging away after all these years. And I think out of the Big Four, they've put out the most studio albums. But and this one is their first in 5 years. So good one from Tankard. If you haven't checked this one out, that is my number 10. Number 9, where are we at? All right, so this one, kind of a later addition to my list, and this is probably, this is the latest released 2022 album on my list, and a band that I kind of, through watching videos and other people over the years, I know their first 2 albums really well. The midpoint, I don't know. I actually had their 5th album on my shelf unopened for a couple of years, but I heard a couple of tracks off this one. This is the newest from Xentrix called 7 Words, and that is my number 9 for 2022. Love this artwork. I think it's just the colors. I have mentioned this before. This would be one of my favorite album covers of the year. The green with the purple, a little bit of yellow, but little slipcase on here. So we'll take this off. Pleasantly surprised. This would be this one and one other one are kind of my surprises of the year, that they're as good as they are, and glad I checked them out. But there's the back cover. So Xentrix, 7 Words. I forget when this was released, only a couple months ago. Well, probably 6 weeks ago maybe, but this font is hard to read. But check out 3 of my favorite tracks. Everybody Loves You When You're Dead, Kill and Protect, and my favorite track, Anything But the Truth. Newer vocalist Jay Walsh does a great job. I encourage you, if you've missed out on this one, or just totally sloughed it off, go back and check it out. So that is my number 9. Number 8 is from a Canadian band that is as close as possible, I would say, to a big city. These guys are out of Calgary, Yeah, I'm sure, not Edmonton. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I love their 2019 album, Burn the Night, but I think this one might even be, well, it's on par or even a touch better. This is the newest one from Riot City called Electric Elite. And one of my favorite album covers, just kind of a throwback type of cover. You know, yes, there's some priest worship in here. But again, it's just metal. It's Riot City. They sound like Riot City. They have lots of influences, and you know, at the age of these guys, how can you not have a little bit of those type of bands in your music? But just traditional metal, that's the category they fall into. So what they've done here versus their first album, Kale Savvy, the lead guitar player, kind of the leader of the band, has given up his vocal duties. They brought in a full-time vocalist, Jordan Jacobs, and he is just more of a natural singer. Not that Kale did a shit job, because he did not. That album, Burn the Night, is very good. I encourage you to check that one out too. But yeah, so go check out my favorite tracks on this one. Lead off track, Eye of the Jaguar, awesome. Tyrant, and I would say Paris Nights, and even the last track, a little bit longer of a song, Severed Ties, but great album. This one did feature Chad Valier on drums. Chad also was a member of the other Canadian traditional metal band that I do enjoy called Traveler, but actually Chad has left Riot City. They have a new drummer now. But yeah, go check this one out. My number 8, their second overall studio album. Bright future for these guys. Came out on No Remorse Records, which they do an awesome job too, if you know No Remorse. So that's number 8. My number 7 is the newest album from Queensryche, Digital Noise Alliance. Initially, I listened to this once, right through, and I'm like, yeah, it just sounds kind of samey, but I actually couldn't be more wrong. To me, this is the best album with during the Todd LaTorre era. So this is the 4th studio album with Todd on vocals. I think we got Mike Stone back on guitar, took over for Parker Lundgren. That's the only other change. Working again with Chris Zeus Harris production-wise, but this one grew on me. Still not a big fan of the slowest song on here, Forest, but I would say, you know, if you're a fan of the album that I'm spinning in the background, which is Todd LaTorre's solo album, this is the closest Queensryche where he's experimented and used more of his vocal range versus, you know, trying to sound more like Jeff Tate, if that makes sense. Getting a little bit away from that Jeff Tate type of range, and you know, introducing some stuff like he put on this solo album, because it's fantastic again. But there's some absolute straight up throwback type of songs on here. That Queensryche dual lead intros, great solos. The drumming on here is really good. So this is the first album featuring Casey on drums. But check out the first track, In Extremis. Love that track. And there's so many good songs on here. Sick Death, Behind the Walls, and then the closing track, super heavy for Queensryche. I would say it's actually quite heavy. It's called Tormentum. Check that track out. And then there is just a throw-in bonus track of Rebel Yell, which I listen to it, but I don't really count it as part of the album, if that makes any sense. But there is my thoughts on the newest Queensryche, coming in at number 7 for 2022. What do we got next? Okay, I had said that Xentrix album was a bit of a surprise on how good it was. This one too, I was even debating on bumping this one up a little bit higher, but I'm good with my number 6, or with 6 I'm good with it at number 6. This is the newest from Blind Guardian, the God Machine. Now, I don't have, besides that awful album that the Darklands or whatever it was called that they did a couple years, I get it, what they were going after, but it wasn't the Blind Guardian that I knew with their earlier works. And then the 3 albums that came out before that, Darklands, I don't know those albums very well, but I do know, the first probably 6 or 7 Blind Guardian albums, which are awesome. But this is kind of a return to form. That's what I would say. I do love this artwork too. But there is some great tracks on here. Hansi sounds awesome. The whole band. This is your typical, but this is definitely your kind of European power metal, double bass, great solos. But my favorite tracks on here are the lead-off track, Deliver Us from Evil. I love their choruses and just how they're built up, and sounds awesome. And I would say Blood of the Elves is my second favorite track, and kind of a, whatever you want to call it, a deeper track on here. I would say Life Beyond the Spheres. Check that track out too. But definitely worthy of being my number 6 this year. Listen to this album a lot, and surprisingly quite a bit. And yeah, if you don't know Blind Guardian, go check them out. Number 5, all right, we get a little more thrash heavy here for the last few. If you watched me for any period of time, I do enjoy my thrash albums. And this would be, I would say, my album cover of the year. I just love the colors on this. But anyways, this is my number 5, Destruction Diabolical. Yeah, very cool artwork. Sorry, my mouth is dry. So this is their 15th studio album. Gone is Mike Ziffringer on guitar, long-term member of Destruction. But honestly, I don't think they missed a beat as far as guitar work. And they brought in actually Martin Furia as second guitar player, along with Demir, who joined a few years back. Great tracks to check out. Actually, the lead off, the title track, Diabolical, was the first track that was released. Really good, heavy. No Faith in Humanity, love that song. Hope Dies Last. State of Apathy, that was also a single. And check out a song called Tormented Souls. There's the back cover, so that's cool. They got the patches all in the song. All the song titles are patches of this. But yeah, so we had 3/4 of the German Big Four release albums this year. We had Tankard, Destruction, and Kreator, and that compilation from Sodom. So hopefully we do see a new one from Sodom in 2023. That would be cool too. So that's my number 5, Destruction Diabolical. Number 4, I've been a fan of this band for years and years. Got to talk about some of my favorite songs from them on a live stream that I did with a good friend of mine, Andy Cloudy Milder. Great channel too. Make sure you go check him out. But yeah, we were reminiscing about our favorite songs from Saxon. And here's my number 4, 23rd overall studio album from these guys. Still going, still putting out just solid albums. I've enjoyed, I do enjoy all of their albums. I will say that, but this is I would say, actually, in a way, better than Thunderbolt, in my opinion, because it just has more consistency with the songs on this one. Thunderbolt's good songs were great, but then there was some filler in there. This one is just a little more even keel, put it that way. But that is my number 4, 23rd. Like I said, 23 studio albums, still going. Some of these guys are into their 70s. That's okay with me. I'm into my 50s. I am, definitely getting closer to being 60 than I am. Well, whatever. Celebrated my 54th birthday this year, so still glad to listen to this stuff. We'll leave it at that. But great tracks to check out: Age of Steam, The Pilgrimage, which actually was thrown around as the album title initially, but they went with Carpe Diem, if I didn't mention the album title already. But and then they just released a new video for Dam Busters. Remember the Fallen is one of those COVID type of, remember, the people that we lost during COVID. And another great track that I do enjoy is Living on the Limit. But yeah, my number 4 from 2022, obviously 2022, I gotta stop saying that, but all right, we're into the top 3. And a few of you that have been with me for a while, you probably can guess these, maybe not the order, but you definitely know what's coming, so it won't be shocking. My number 3, a band that really, in my opinion, has created their own genre. Have listened to them for quite a few years. There was some gaps in their discography that I didn't own that I've been filling them in as we go, but this is the newest, and one of the newer first releases of 2022. This is Voivod Synchro Anarchy, 15th overall studio album. Gotta love that artwork from Away, who does pretty much all their artwork and anything inside. There he is right there. Drummer for, since the beginning, and there's Snake and Chewy and Rocky. But this is a great album, and I do like this one just a little bit better than their previous album from 2018 called The Wake. And not by much. I mean, this is just overall, and like I said, they pretty much, they're in their own category. They have crazy guitar riffs, different time changes, lots of conceptual, most of their albums are conceptual. Check out a few of my favorite tracks. Sleeves Off, and one of my favorite tracks on here is called Quest for Nothing. Also the title track Synchro Anarchy, great track too. There is my number 3. No, we're not going to say 2022. We already know that. But Voivod, I know it's a band that is hit and miss with some people. That's okay. We like what we like. But, if you want to check out Voivod, try their new album. Really good. So now my top 2, I honestly, I could have flipped these two, but I said I got to be true to myself of which one I spun the most, liked the best. And so coming in at number 2 is the 15th overall studio album from German thrashers, Kreator, Hate Uber Alles. Now, as far as the fan base goes, a lot of people will say that they don't like this more melodic Kreator versus their earlier stuff. I get it. I'm able to separate the two in my brain. I am and was late to the Kreator party overall, so I don't have that rich history of being around when some of those early albums came out. But I do love anything from the 2000 was kind of their turnaround. So the past 22 years and 5 or 6 albums later, I do really enjoy it. Sammy is a great lead player. Millie, love his vocals. Actually, initially I did not like Millie's vocals, but they grew on me, and Kreator's become one of my favorite bands, to be honest with you. But yeah, 15th overall studio album, made the list. Not super high on this album cover, but it's not bad. It's kind of growing on me, put it that way. But the one thing I was going to say, so when initially the first song got released for the title track, Hate Uber Alles, I just overplayed it, and I really need to, that's what I'll work on in 2023, if I can. I have zero patience when it's like, oh yeah, I'll just wait till the album comes out. What the problem is, a lot of these songs come out months before the album, and I can't wait. I just can't say, well, I'm not going to listen to that for 3 months. I'd be lying to you. That would be bullshit if I told you that. but I will try to listen to the track less, because I tell you, I probably listened to Hate Uber Ellis track 100 times before the album was even released, and that's no exaggeration. But other favorite tracks on here, Killer of Jesus, that is a heavy track. You know, not the nicest title, but you'd read the lyrics, you'll get it. But great track. Strongest of the Strong, I do like the throwback song Becoming Immortal. They have a where's that one? Oh, the final, I love the closing track. It is a fitting closing track, Dying Planet. But overall, really good Kreator album. My album of the year from 2017 was Gods of Violence. For me, at this point in time, it's not Gods of Violence, but it is a good album. Really enjoy the newest one from Kreator, which leaves one more, which, like I said, if you watch me for any extent of time, you'll know what's coming. But this is the 16th studio album, and my number one of 2022 is Megadeth, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. First album since 2016's Dystopia, and a real step up from that album, in my opinion, and probably the best album they've done since 2009's Endgame. Solid lineup. Bass playing on here, which you know is done by Steve DiGiorgio, and he's pretty much the bass player to get if you were gonna get somebody to fill in on your album. James Lomenzo now is the permanent bass player for Megadeth. First album with Dirk Verburen on drums, ex-Soilwork drummer. He is fantastic, and I have to say that he's brought a new element to these guys that might be not in your face noticeable, but he is such a good drummer. And Kiko and Dave have now had a few more years under their belt. You know, Dave's battled cancer, things like that, and he's come back. And I know his vocals aren't for everybody, but I've been with these guys since 1986, and just love the new album. Lots of spins. The lead-off track, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead, awesome, love it. Night Stalkers, I can do without the iced tea bit, but I do understand why it's there. That is an awesome song. Also, We'll Be Back, what a way to close out this album. And a couple of my sleeper, deeper tracks that I enjoy. Mission to Mars, I like the bass intro. I like how catchy that one is. I know it's probably not everyone's favorite track, but I do really enjoy Mission to Mars. Even Celebutante has a great opening riff. And another one that is actually growing on me is called Life in Hell. Don't always like the repetitive chorus, but that's overall the song is great. There's a few spoken parts here, or actually Psychopathy, which is the lead-in part to Killing Time. Kind of a little unnecessary, but overall, great album. And yeah, we had to wait, 6 years for this one. So well worth the wait, and really enjoy this one. Number one, 16th overall studio album from Megadeth. And like I said earlier in the video, if you added up all these albums from these artists, still making really good stuff, in my opinion, it's just remarkable. And we have even some new acts that made it in here. And if you haven't checked out Riot City yet, go for it. Great new album. But that is my list for 2022. Definitely looking forward to 2023. We already got new albums announced by Obituary. Overkill's coming out with a new one. Who else? Metallica's been announced already. Who else? Let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to. Let me know in the comments your top 1, 5, 10, whatever you'd like. But hope you enjoyed that one. And until next time, stay heavy.